By the end of today's video, you will be able to determine what is the best camera for fishing for you. Today, we are putting the GoPro Hero 13 and the Osmo Action 5 and the ACE Pro 2 head to head. Full disclaimer, Insta360 did give me the ACE Pro 2 for free. They encouraged me to test the ACE Pro 2 versus the other two cameras on the market. Now for price, for the DJI Osmo Action 5, it retails at $349, and that comes with the camera and all of the accessories you see on the table there. The GoPro Hero 13 starts at $429 for everything you see here. And the Insta360 ACE Pro 2 starts at $399, and that is retail on their respective websites with just the base package, which essentially just comes with the camera and one battery. However, what I prefer when it comes to getting a camera and accessories, at minimum, I want at least 2 batteries and the ability to charge multiple batteries at once. For the DJI Osmo Action, you can actually buy what they call their adventure bundle for $450, and it comes with a really convenient charging case and 2 additional batteries, so you're able to charge all 3 batteries at once. And they even will throw in a cool little telescopic selfie stick. Now GoPro doesn't really have a combo like that. What you have to do is essentially buy these things a la carte. If you want 2 extra batteries and a dual battery charger, it's going to run you $520. Now the ACE Pro 2 is similar to where they don't necessarily have an all-in-one combo, but if you want a triple charger, 3 batteries, and the camera, that is gonna run you about $495. Now let's go ahead and get into the form factor of everything. I'm gonna go ahead and put a side-by-side comparison on the screen now so you can see what they look like next to each other. Now GoPro is about the middle of the pack. It's not the biggest, it's not the smallest. It's the same GoPro form factor that you're used to. It has a nice front screen right here where you can view and frame your shots, along with a really big touch screen here that you can use to adjust your settings, do whatever you need to on the camera. On the side here is the power button, and they call this like a little moisture or water wicking microphone. And then on the other side is your access to the battery, SD card, and USB port. Now this is the Osmo Action 5 Pro. As you can see, very similar. It does have a touchscreen on the front. Now one of the differences is you can, it's really hard to do this backwards, but you can change settings here from this screen. So that's actually a really cool feature. So if I needed to change any of my frame settings or resolution or anything like that, you could. And then also it's got a really big touch screen on the back to do the same thing as like what the GoPro does. Now here is where one of the differences from the GoPro comes in. On this side, you have the power button and a quick switch button to switch between presets. But if we open this door here, you can see it has just a USB slot here, which is pretty cool. You can take that door off and plug in any USB charging or microphones, things like that. And then on the other side is where we have our access to the battery and the SD card. Now, the ACE Pro 2 is actually quite different than both of those. It does have a front screen where you can see some of the recording settings, things like that. But the biggest difference is if you want a front screen, kind of like on the GoPro and the DJI, it actually, you flip this rear screen up, and then you have a giant screen here that will allow you to do whatever you need to and frame your shots that way. So that is one of the biggest differences, is this giant screen on the back is only available by flipping it up if you want to frame your shot. But that being said, it also is very similar to the DJI, how it has this slot here, but you have the USB and SD card here, and on this other side you have just the battery. Now, getting into kind of the usability of that form factor, the GoPro, as I mentioned, does not have the ability to do any touchscreen setting changes on the front. The touchscreen here is good, but as you can see, I mean, even just trying to change some settings, the back of the screen isn't as sensitive as the other two cameras. And this can really be frustrating when you're trying to change settings on the water, or if you are in the heat of the moment and need to change settings really quickly. On both the DJI and the Insta360, the touchscreens on the back are extremely easy to use, have no problem changing settings. Same thing with the ACE Pro 2, pretty sensitive. Whenever you touch what you want to touch, it works. Let's talk about the mounting solutions. GoPro is still shipping all of their cameras out with these little flip out feet. If you have tried to change your GoPro to a different mount, you know the hassle of having to screw and unscrew the mount to be able to change it from your chest to a selfie stick or what have you. What's nice is that these do flip out, but it's still really annoying that they don't have some sort of magnetic mounting solution unless you buy it afterwards. Now, I will say the bottom is a magnet, and the one cool thing is this is a 1/4 thread, so you can hook it up to a tripod or anything that has a 1/4, which is actually a really cool feature, but lacking magnetic mounting from the factory is a little annoying in my opinion. Now, both the Osmo Action and the Insta360 ACE Pro 2 have magnetic mounting, which to me in 2025 should be a default for any action camera. What I mean by magnetic mounting is you can see right here and right here, they are attached to their own respective mounts. And all I have to do to switch this or this camera to another mount somewhere else on the boat is hit these two prongs here, and then the camera just comes right off. Same thing with the Insta360 ACE Pro 2. I just hit these little buttons here and I can take it off just like that. And if I have one of these mounts somewhere else on like a selfie stick or something like that, I can easily just magnetically mount those cameras to that. And to me, that's a game changer. No more having to untwist or unscrew something to be able to change your camera to a different mount. Now let's talk about those fishability factors of these cameras, and that is how do they actually perform when you're on the water. I took these cameras out 2 separate days in the hot Florida heat. One day was to go scalloping, so I had some cool underwater footage, and then the next day was a day on the boat fishing, and it was 90+ degrees both days, so we were really able to test the durability and ruggedness of these cameras in the Florida heat. And the most important factor is reliability. When I am fishing and out on the water, is the camera going to do what I need it to do when I need it to do it without either running out of battery too quickly or overheating? All of these cameras were running 4K 60, and unfortunately just the GoPro could not handle it. When I was scalloping, the GoPro had no problem because it was being cooled off by the water, but the day that I was fishing, unfortunately, the GoPro overheated multiple times, and because of that, I would not be confident that I would be able to rely on this on a hot Florida day. Now, the DJI Osmo Action 5 performed flawlessly. It did give me an overheat warning, but the screen just turned off and I was still able to record. So from a reliability standpoint, the Osmo Action 5 earns top marks in my opinion. And the ACE Pro 2 also performed very well. It did not overheat on me. It performed just fine when I was recording in 4K 60. So again, ACE Pro 2 worked perfectly fine in the Florida heat for me. The next thing for me is battery life. And unfortunately, I didn't really get a chance to test battery life out on the water with the GoPro because it overheated so many times that while the other 2 cameras were still running, this one was off trying to cool down. In my office, whenever I was testing them all 3 side by side, the GoPro was about middle of the pack, but even still, in the office running 4K 60, the GoPro overheated. Do with that information as you'd like. That is just my experience, is the GoPro was constantly overheating even in the office. So battery life is one of those things where I can't really give you guys a solid answer on what the battery life is. Now, as far as the Osmo Action 5, this was actually the winner when it came to battery life. It outperformed the other two cameras by about 25 to 30 minutes in each of my tests, which is pretty big. That means you're gonna have less battery changes while you're out on the water. But the ACE Pro 2 came in second when it came to my battery testing. Again, when I was out on the water, the GoPro failed, therefore I don't think that that even earns a chance at second place because I wasn't able to test it. Now, the next factor is the ability to get external audio through these cameras. I'm happy to report that all three cameras can connect wirelessly to a Bluetooth mic, such as the DJI Mic 2 and other Bluetooth mics that are out there. But the main difference between the GoPro and the other two is that you cannot plug in a USB microphone to record external audio on the GoPro. If you want to do that, you have to buy their media mod, which is probably 70 or 80 bucks. Which on the Osmo Action 5, you can simply plug in a USB microphone into the camera, and then you can see right at the top, it is showing those audio levels from the microphone. Testing, testing, testing. You can see once I take that away, those audio levels are gone. That's how you know that it is recording to an external audio device. And same thing with the ACE Pro 2. I can simply plug an USB mic into the USB-C port, and then you can see those audio levels pop up right there. So another cool thing for both the Osmo Action 5 and the ACE Pro 2. If you don't want to spend money on a Bluetooth mic, you can pick up a lav mic like this for 20 bucks on Amazon, and you're able to get good audio from the Osmo Action 5 and the ACE Pro 2. This is going to be an audio test between the Action 5 Pro, the ACE Pro 2, and the Hero 13. Again, this is an audio test between the Action 5 Pro, the ACE Pro 2, and the GoPro Hero 13. Again, this is an audio test between the Action 5 Pro, the ACE Pro 2, and the GoPro Hero 13. Default audio settings. Let's talk about one of those other fishing features that I enjoy, and it's something called pre-record. On the GoPro, it's called Hindsight, and it's the ability to only record things you want to record. And what I mean by that is you set up the camera to do either the pre-record or the Hindsight, and it's going to continuously record up to a set amount of time in the past as soon as you hit the record button. So for instance, I'm fishing for 20 minutes. I finally get a bite. My camera has been recording the entire 20 minutes, but once I hit the record button, it only records up to a set amount of time in the past and only records up until I tell it to stop. Why that's nice is because I'm only putting on my SD card stuff that I want and only having to go through footage that is actually something I want to in post-processing. Now with GoPro, you only get up to 30 seconds of Hindsight or pre-record, which is okay, but it's not the best. The other two cameras have much longer pre-record options. On the Osmo Action 5, you actually have up to 5 minutes of pre-record, which is kind of insane. I mean, you could have a really long fight of a fish and not even press the record button at all and still be able to get the entire thing on camera up to 5 minutes in the past. The ACE Pro 2 actually has a really good pre-record amount too. You can do up to 90 seconds in the past at 4K, and if we are at 1080p, you can actually get a full 2 minutes. Pretty good. 2 minutes is a lot, and so was 90 seconds.
That's what she said.
So let's get to the actual footage. That is, of course, what these cameras are for, is shooting video, right? Before I reveal which camera is which, let me know down in the comments below which one you think you like the best based on the camera footage, and let me know if you were surprised at which one was which once I reveal them. All right, so this first clip is a video of me just panning at the beginning of the day. It was filmed in 4K, 60 frames per second, so I could get a little bit of slow-mo. It looks to me like they all look really good. I mean, from a color perspective, you really can't tell that much of a difference. Now, once we get to the part here where it's showing off the GPS unit, you can really tell the clarity on the top two, especially if you look at the numbers for the miles per hour, time, date, things like that. You can notice that the one on the top left is probably the clearest, followed by the one on the top right, and then in third place, the one on the bottom. Now with this scallop footage, I'm not happy with any of them for the fact that on the widest possible field of view for each of them, it gave this strange warping effect that you can see here. I apologize if you guys get dizzy, and it might have to do because it's underwater, but it just was not usable footage in my opinion. If we do slow it down and do a quick screenshot of the scallop hanging out in the bottom, this is about in 3 feet of water. I would have to say the one on the top right looks the best to me, followed by the one in the bottom middle, and the one on the top left that looks like the colors are just a little too blown out. As we continue on and I pick up the scallop, unfortunately the one on the right I can't really see because it's a little out of frame. The one on the top left still looks a little too weird from a color perspective, but the one on the bottom middle actually looks really good. And as we reveal those, the one on the top left is actually the ACE Pro 2. The one on the top right is the GoPro, and the one on the bottom middle is the DJI Osmo Action. Now this clip here is actually a clip of me pulling in a trout. Unfortunately on this day I did not bring my chest cam, so I'm kind of dual wielding my rod and the selfie stick. But if we pause the video here, we can see all of the cameras look pretty similar from a clarity and color standpoint. If I had to pick one right now, the one on the top right looks the best from a dynamic range aspect. The one on the top left looks a little too light and dark in some sections, and then the one on the bottom middle looks fine. It just is not as clear. And here is the video of the release. As we hold the fish up to the camera, I still really like the one on the top right. It has a good clarity on the fish itself. The colors look good. Nothing is too light or too dark. The one on the top left looks good from a resolution standpoint, but it seems as if the shadows are just a little too dark to see everything. And then the one on the bottom middle just doesn't look like the clarity is there from a resolution standpoint. And then here is the release. Now here is a clip of a nice little redfish I caught. Here is where you can actually start to see where some of the image processing breaks down. Here is a great close-up of the redfish. As you can see, the one on the right just looks like the sharpness on it is amazing. You can see each individual scale, whereas the one on the right, top right I should say, looks okay, but definitely not as sharp as the one on the top left. And the one on the bottom just seems like it is still struggling with the clarity and sharpness of things. Now here is actually a good little shot of the skyline, and you can see the bottom one, again, still kind of struggling with some of that sharpness, but the one on the top right and top left both have their own unique features. The one on the top right actually looks much better in this clip, in my opinion, just because you can really see the shadows and the highlights. And on the top left, it does look good, but it seems like it's just a little blown out and bright, especially with that shadow showing. It could just be kind of the perspective. But for whatever reason, I like the one on the right better here. All right, and then let's look at here. Let's look at these skin tones here. Again, the one on the top left looks really good, except the skin tone seems a little red and rosy, whereas the one on the top right, I would say, looks a little bit more natural. That's actually what I would say I look like. And the one on the bottom does look a little saturated. You can tell the redfish is really orange, and my skin tones also look a little orange as well. But I mean, this is really pixel peeping at this point. They all look really good, especially if you do a little post processing in your video editing software. I'm sure all of these are going to look very similar. Now on the release here, let's take a note of how good the grass looks. The one on the top right actually looks really good. You can almost see every single one of the pieces of grass. The one on the bottom middle, again, just not as sharp as the other two. And the one on the top left, it doesn't look as good in my opinion as the one on the top right when it comes to the grass. And then here we go, the release. Look at that redfish. Again, the one on the top left is a little sharper than both, but the ones on the top, you can kind of compare. They look very similar. The one on the bottom doesn't look bad. It just, again, does not look as sharp as the other two. So what are your guys' thoughts? Let me know down in the comments below if you feel like there is a definitive winner when it comes to these three action cameras. In my opinion, the GoPro is the big loser for me, and it is simply because it is unreliable when you are out there on the water. It's hot in Florida, we are fishing in the sun a lot, and if the camera is going to continually overheat when I'm trying to record, I run the risk of losing a really good catch or just not being able to film content. So that leaves the Osmo Action 5 and the Ace Pro 2. Which one should you pick? In my opinion, if you want a long battery life, not many frills action camera that is going to get the job done, the Osmo Action 5 is the camera for you. But the Ace Pro 2 has a ton of innovative and really cool features that the Osmo Action 5 does not have. It also has 8K resolution, which is just insane. What are your guys' thoughts? Let me know down in the comments below. And if you want to pick up any of these cameras, I will make sure to link them down in the description below. If you do purchase them, it helps me out a little bit to continue doing camera tests like this and overall gear tests. So thank you guys so much for watching, and until the next video, I hope you're able to get on the water and catch some fish.